Olena stood by the kitchen window, watching the rain slowly slide down the glass. It was almost 11 at night. She had reheated dinner 3 times already, but Andriy's plate still sat untouched on the table. The keys clicked quietly in the front door. "You're late again," she said without turning around. Andriy silently placed his bag by the wall and let out a tired sigh. Work was crazy. It's always crazy. Silence filled the apartment. Not the peaceful kind shared by people who are comfortable together, but the heavy kind where every word can turn into an argument. They had been married for 7 years. Once, their evenings looked completely different. Cheap pizza, laughing until 2 in the morning, dancing in the kitchen to old songs playing from a phone speaker. Now everything felt gray. Andriy sat down at the table. "I'm not doing this on purpose." "I know." "Then why do you say it like that?" Olena finally turned around. There wasn't anger in her eyes, only exhaustion. "Because I live here alone, Andriy. Sometimes it just feels like you come home to sleep." He lowered his eyes. "I'm trying for us. And I'm trying not to forget what your laugh sounds like." Those words hit harder than any scream could have. He quietly ate the cold pasta while she walked into the bedroom. Another day ended exactly the same way. The next morning, Olena woke up early. Andriy was already gone. Only a note remained on the table. "Sorry, I'll try to come home earlier today." She smiled sadly. He had been leaving notes like that for the past 6 months. At the school where she worked as a music teacher, the children were preparing for a concert. She helped a little girl play a simple melody on the piano, but her mind was somewhere far away. "Ms. Olena, are you sad?" the girl suddenly asked. Olena looked surprised. "Why would you think that?" "Because sad people always look out the window." Those words squeezed her heart painfully. That evening, Andriy actually came home early. He even brought flowers. "I thought maybe we could watch a movie, like we used to." Olena looked at him longer than usual. "You remember like we used to?" "I do." They sat down on the couch together. At first it felt awkward, like two strangers accidentally sitting too close. But halfway through the movie, Olena laughed at a stupid joke, and Andriy froze. "What? I haven't heard you laugh in a long time." She lowered her eyes. "That's because there hasn't been much to laugh about." He turned off the TV. "Olena, we're losing each other, aren't we?" She stayed silent for a few seconds. "Maybe we already did." Andriy stood up suddenly. "Don't say that." "How else should I say it? We live like roommates. You're always at work. I'm always alone. We barely even talk anymore. I'm building our future, and I want a present." Her voice trembled. "I don't need a huge apartment or an expensive car if you're never here with me." Andriy ran a hand through his hair. "You think this is easy for me? I work 12-hour days because I have to. And I'm not asking you to suffer. I'm asking you to be my husband." He couldn't find anything to say. That night, they slept with their backs turned toward each other. A few days later, Andriy left for a business trip to Kiev for 3 days. On the first day, Olena strangely felt lighter. On the second, she felt empty. On the third day, she accidentally found an old box filled with photographs. There they were in the mountains, soaked from the rain and smiling. There they were in their tiny rented apartment, eating instant noodles straight from the pot. There was their wedding picture, Andriy looking at her like nobody else in the world existed. She sat on the floor holding the photos for a long time. Suddenly, her phone rang. An unknown number. "Hello. Good evening. Are you Andriy Kovalenko's wife?" Her heart dropped instantly. "Yes." He was in a car accident. The world around her became silent. "What happened?" "He's in the hospital. His condition is stable, but you should come." Olena barely remembered packing her things, buying the ticket, or riding the night train. In the hospital room, Andriy looked pale. His arm was bandaged, and there were scratches across his face. When he saw her, he smiled weakly. "You came." Olena sat beside him and suddenly burst into tears. Not quietly, not beautifully, but the kind of crying that comes from holding too much pain inside for too long. I thought I lost you." Andriy slowly squeezed her hand. "And I realized I almost lost you long before the accident." She lowered her head and whispered, "I love you. Even when I'm angry. Even when I want to scream at you. I love you too. And I've been an idiot." They sat there for a long time. No arguments. No complaints. Just holding hands. And for the first time in a very long while, there was no wall between them. After the hospital, things didn't magically become perfect overnight. They still argued sometimes. Andriy still stayed late at work occasionally. Olena still got quietly upset from time to time. But now they talked. Really talked. One evening, Andriy came home early and found Olena in the kitchen. "Close your eyes," he said. "Why?" "Just do it." She obeyed. A few seconds later, he placed something small into her hand. "Keys." "What is this?" "To our house." Olena looked at him in confusion. "What?" "I sold the car." "You what?" "And I bought a small house outside the city. Nothing fancy. No expensive renovations. But it has a garden and a big kitchen. You always wanted that." She stared at him silently. "You dreamed about that car. And I also dreamed about not losing my wife." Tears filled her eyes again. "You're impossible." "Yeah, but I'm yours." She laughed through her tears and hugged him tightly. A year later, that little house smelled like apple pie and fresh paint. Olena sat on the living room floor organizing sheet music for her students when Andriy walked in carrying 2 cups of tea. "You know," he said while sitting beside her, "sometimes I think, what if the accident never happened?" Olena rested her head on his shoulder. "Maybe we would have kept living like strangers." "That's terrifying." She smiled softly. "Sometimes people need a second chance to remember why they chose each other in the first place." Andriy gently kissed her hair. Outside, the evening rain quietly fell against the windows. The same kind of rain as that night long ago. But now there was no cold silence in this house. Only warmth, tea, and 2 people who almost lost their love, and because of that, finally learned how to protect it.